Hello everyone. Welcome to the stream. Well, yesterday was fun, wasn't it? Welcome everyone, good to see you all. Thank you all for coming. Welcome Lewis, Shanky, Cobra, Chris, Matt, Jan, Wei, Vladimir, Simon, Jack, Jisui, Marcelius, thank you for the 199. Appreciate it. That face says it all. Felipe, Klaus, Amelia, Augustine, Freddie, good to see you mate. Hixie, welcome. Barat, big up. Retty, welcome. At least I didn't miss the race. The irony was true, wasn't it? I was actually not gonna, well, I didn't think I was gonna be able to see the race. Turns out I could see the race, technically. Technically, I saw the race because it was delayed. Look, we've been blessed this year with some amazing races. It was always a matter of time before things went Pete Tong, wasn't it? Look, rain, go away, come again another day. We always ask for rain. We never get it. But because we always ask for it and it never comes, it all came in one big hit. The amount of rain we've wanted for the last like 2 seasons and we haven't got, it all just fell on the same day at the same track at Spa-Francorchamps. And yeah, not great. Thank you, Freddie, as well, for joining Friends of Tommo. Appreciate it, mate. It's hard to know where to start, isn't it? We've all obviously, you know, talked about it. There was plenty of time. I mean, again, fortunately for me, I wasn't sitting through the full 4 hours of coverage. I also wasn't a fan who went there on a wet Belgian afternoon, soaked through, stayed there till gone 6 local time. I do very much feel for every single fan who went to Spa, because that's not the day you want. I've heard a lot of stories from fans. I know Simdane, fellow YouTube creator, Mr. Daddy's Cash, I know he went to the race. He's posted a lot about it, his thoughts, the lack of communication. All in all, yeah, it was, there isn't much, there's nothing you can do about rain, you know? And it was too wet to race on safely, okay? All of the drivers said it, okay? These are seasoned professionals. They're drivers. It's their job to drive. They're not gonna take liberties when they're saying, when all of them are saying it's too dangerous to drive. You can't, right? It just wouldn't happen. But yeah, we'll dive into my thoughts anyway. I know this, just like anything as well, just like every single race, even though nothing actually happened, there's still controversy. There's still a lot of, you know, people disagreeing on the internet, about how it was managed, how the FIA could have done things differently, etc., etc. But yeah, thank you, Broken Refrigerator, as well, for the $2.99 Aussie dollars. A dominant performance from the safety car, Bernd Mailander. And who's the other guy? Who's the guy who drives the medical car? I can't remember his name. It's Vander something, isn't it? I know it's not Van der Linde, because that's the DTM driver. I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong, Refrigerator. You're not wrong, mate. And thank you, Liam, as well, for the $2. Bernd Mailander, driver. There you go, see? It's perfectly synchronized. Liam knows. Alan van der Merwe. I knew there was a Vander something in there. There you go. Van der Merwe. Legend. Okay, well, look. First of all, let's get into my race rating. Chat, can you please let me know what you would rate this race out of 10? Completely seriously. Out of 10. 0, 2, 10. Ooh, minus 100. 11. Damn. The only person I think who's going to rate this race 10 out of 10 is I don't know anyone. No, you know what? It was a banger. It had so much action. It was packed with action throughout. It's clearly. Oh, and thank you, Lou, for the 179, mate. Appreciate it. Lou Dyson, big up. And Rowney for the £2. 0 out of 10 easily. There was no race. Lol. Look, I'm sorry, but that race was clearly a 10 out of 0 out of 10, isn't it? You know when like we do these scales, right? And if a race is bang average, most people will say 7. But actually that's not, it should be 5, okay? Because you should be using the extremes. 10 is the best race of all time. 0 is no race. And we had no race. So it's 0 out of 10. Of course it is. There was no race, okay? Regardless, and we'll get into the, I know George got a podium. Okay, I know Max got the win and closed the gap. That's all well and good, okay? But regardless of that, that doesn't matter. When we're judging these things, that our preferences shouldn't come into it. There was not a race. Even if Alex Albon had won this, I would still be giving it a 0 out of 10. I promise you that I actually would, okay? That doesn't mean I wouldn't be chuffed for Alex, but I'd still give it a 0 out of 10. Yeah. What can you say? Cap indeed. Alex was there as well, wasn't he? I did a tweet. I was like, well, if Sergio can't drive, maybe Alex can jump in his car. Because, Sergio binged it on the reconnaissance lap, didn't he? I actually missed that. I missed the reconnaissance lap incident for Perez when I did get home. That had already gone down. Yeah. We'll talk about Sergio in a bit, because as much as there was no race, there were still some big W's and some big L's to take from the weekend, generally. Cheers, Toby, mate. Thank you for the $5. I love how the F1 YouTube channel just couldn't call the video race highlights. It was just called Max Verstappen wins Sochi race. I mean, they can't, because they'd be lying. It wasn't a race. But yeah. Of all the races, I mean, again, because I didn't go to Veloce to do backseat driver, there wasn't a race, so actually it turned out all right for me. Mazepin fastest lap. Lastest flap. That's not what I meant to say. Is Alan van der Merwe South African? I don't know. It's a South African sounding name, isn't it? Okay, yeah, I mean, it's 0 out of 10, isn't it, for the race? But again, like I say, we still had an order. Not every single drive. The race will count. When we look back at the 2021 Belgian Grand Prix, in the future, there will be points allocated to this race, and we will discuss whether that's right or wrong shortly. But there is a finishing order based off of qualifying. Well, mostly off of qualifying, because again, Sergio. And here we go. Max Verstappen wins from George Russell P2, Lewis Hamilton P3. I mean, I feel fraudulent calling this race results, but this is technically true, because this also isn't the qualifying result, because you got Sergio down there in P19, who didn't qualify P19. His qualifying didn't go well. It didn't go that badly. Thank you, Todd, for the $4.99. I guarantee you, if the title fight comes down to within the gap, this race provided in terms of points, what was the how many more points did Max get than Lewis? So Max got 12.5 and Lewis got 7.5. So that's a 5-point gap. Yes. Is it? 5 point. Yeah, 5-point gap. The relative difference. This has given Max a 5-point. He's closed the gap by 5 points. That's what I'm trying to say. So yeah, now he's only like a few behind. I mean, I guess I mean, we'll cross that bridge when we hopefully don't come to it, because that will just be more controversy and more nonsense on the internet. But there we go. Ricardo P4, Vettel 5, Gasly 6. I mean, again, this is mainly the qualifying order, but we'll come back onto this screen though. We've just got to jump into my race overview. I didn't ask for yours. I didn't bother. Driver of the weekend has to be George Russell. Struggle of the weekend has to be Sergio Perez. Team of the weekend has to be Williams for me. For me, it's pretty slam dunk. Williams, George Russell, both Williams. I mean, Latifi qualified, in between the two Ferraris. Obviously, Latifi benefited from the Lando's incident and all that as well, the knock-on. Williams obviously can give a good package because, again, for Latifi, who is, no doubt, is a good driver, but he's obviously not on the level of the top drivers in F1, clearly, right? That goes without saying. For him to qualify where he did, he was 12th on the road. Obviously benefited again from Sergio, from Lando, and Stroll got a penalty, didn't he? I think Stroll got a penalty. Oh, I don't remember. Should he struggle? Should be Lance? Nah, because I mean Perez qualified P7, Max qualified P1, and then Perez crashed on the reconnaissance lap, and it's just a fat L. Why is it what? Yeah, no, Perez had a worse weekend than Bottas. I'm sorry. Like, I get it that Bottas... Oh, yeah, Bottas as well. Oh, sorry, Bottas 5 grades. I forgot. Thank you, chat. You meant Bottas as in Bottas lost 5 places because of the grid penalty. That's true, for Latifi. Yeah, I think Checo had the worst. Well behind his teammate in qualifying. 2.5 seconds... Russell qualified 2 seconds ahead of Sergio Perez. But again, look, this is one of them. They say about how like rain is the great equalizer. So obviously, all of the cars are different. They all have, some cars are quicker than others. But in these kind of conditions, those aerodynamic, differences end up being, pretty baseless. They don't make too much of a difference. It comes down more to driver skill. Hence why George Russell can put a car like the Williams, which is like, it's at best the 8th best car on the grid, in P2. At P2. To be fair, Kimi also was up there for struggle of the weekend because he crashed into the wall in quali. He qualified behind Mick Schumacher. It's not good. But Perez has to take the struggle. I'm sorry, you can't crash on the reconnaissance lap. He would have all he needed to do was get around that reconnaissance lap, and he would have scored some points. But he didn't. Ended up P20. Perez? I don't think Perez aquaplaned. I think he just got too much curb, didn't he? Because again, all the drivers went through that section. He was the only one who spun. But yeah. Thank you, Nick, for the 5 Aussie dollars, mate. Big up, Nick. Alan van der Merwe, driver of the day for me. That power slide through Pouon, also handy race for Red Bull. Not to happen due their PUs. You know what? That's a good point, actually. As much as, again, I think it's very, very fair to say that when we're talking about luck and things going in your way when they're out of your hands, and you look at Max and you look at Lewis, I think Lewis has had more luck than Max so far this season, but this weekend, Max definitely had more of the luck. Extending the lead in a race that probably shouldn't have been given points, but also, like Nick says, no power unit mileage on the engines. Plus, it looks like we're going down to 22 races, not 23 this year as well. So that's also helped out Red Bull and Sergio Perez as well, of course, not just Max. Oh yeah, the Red Bull bloke almost stacked it on telly. That was funny. But yeah. It just wasn't a race, was it? It just wasn't a race. I didn't bother asking you your thoughts because I was busy this morning as well, hence why I'm doing this a bit later on. But also, I mean, this is just pointless. This whole stream's pointless. I don't know what you're doing here. Wasting your time. Thank you, Joshua, for the 35 Zars. Oh God. Please try this pronunciation of Alan van der Merwe as Alan van der Merwe. Oh, okay. Alan van der Merwe. That's terrible. I'm sorry. But thank you, Joshua. Thank you, Barrett, as well, for the 100 rupees. Over 15 years of watching F1, I've never watched Spa live. Always missed because of something. Wow. Fair. And then you picked this one. I had my day set aside this time and still couldn't. Oh, mate, that is peak. Barrett, mate. That does suck. Thank you, Blue Umberto, for the 50 MX as well. Big up. Hugs from Tijuana. Mexican pesos, not Mexican dollars. Thank you for reminding me. That's why I just called it 50 MX. Thank you very much. Far too kind. It was perfect until Merv. Okay. I'm just going to stop trying now. Actually, yeah, Callum Marlock did post a Instagram saying that he was there's news coming up, but maybe he's just trying. You know, anyone who follows me on Twitter, did you see the tweet I did about I was taking the mickey out of people who say that, you know, there shouldn't be any changes made to Radio No Rouge, and I posted the South Park guy, the World of Warcraft guy. Callum Marlock actually liked that tweet, which I thought was quite funny. I saw it pop up on my phone. I was like, is that actually Callum Marlock? And it was. Go onto his account, check his likes, and you can see it. Callum knows. Okay, and also, I might as well quickly go through my fantasy roundup because I'm not including all the graphics I usually do because there's not really much to talk about. We'll talk about the other things separately. I did a good job taking Turbo off of Lando this weekend, actually. I put Turbo on the best driver. I made some transfer. I took George out, which is obviously a huge L. But then I took Perez out as well, which was a dub. So, tomato. However you say it. But yeah. Not a bad weekend in fantasy. I don't know where I'm sitting. I should have kept George in, but I was right to take Sergio out, and Ocon and Sainz both scored all right points. Ocon, you know, out-qualified Fernando, finished P7 in the end, technically, finished P7. But yeah, is what it is. Okay, let's go back to what we're going to talk about. Well, I mean, look, obviously we talk about Max Verstappen, put it on pole, took pole away from George Russell. If you haven't seen, obviously I did my live stream, I went mad. I also did a little clip. I was like, after that live stream, after that quality session, I was like, this is one of the best quality sessions I've ever seen. I've got to like clip up that bit and put it into a video. So I just quickly chucked something together. That is on my channel if you haven't seen it. Obviously I was gassed for George. Especially as Lewis, 13 thousandths of a second behind George Russell in qualifying. Look, I'm sorry, like if you don't believe George has done enough to merit that Mercedes seat, I cannot understand why anyone would think he's not done enough to merit that seat. Not given his performances, but also given Bottas's performances. If you don't think he deserves that seat, I think you have to question like where your perspective's coming from, because I'm sorry, what more can the man do? He's in a Williams, a car that we know how bad it has been. Yes, it's not as bad as it was in 2019, don't get me wrong, but come on. It shouldn't be in the conversation with even your like Aston Martin, Alpine, AlphaTauri fight, yet he's put it P2. And again, like rain is the great equaliser, and he put in a quality lap, he put in his lap before Lewis did, so technically, if you want to talk about track evolution and the track's getting better, Lewis was racing on better asphalt, and Russell still went quicker. Madness. Absolute madness. Obviously, Danny Rick, P4, good result. I do, though, think, you know, if Lando hadn't have had the incident that he did, I think Lando's probably putting it on pole. Him and Max were right up there the whole time, weren't they? In P1, P2, in Q1, Q2. That they were like just, you know, they were trading fastest laps. I think he would have got pole. Obviously, it's gutting the way it kind of turned out. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about kind of my thoughts around the qualifying red flag and all that. Look, I think when you got a 4-time world champion on the radio saying you need to red flag the session, this is too dangerous, I think you have to listen to him. But there you go. With someone of Seb's experience, like, you can't just, you know, you need to be proactive, I think, and I think that was poorly managed. As much as I don't think Lando aquaplaned. You know, George Russell went through Radio Eau Rouge before Lando and didn't crash, but obviously Lando was pushing. You know, he made a mistake. It's very easy to make a mistake, that amount of water on the track. And again, it's like, as soon as drivers are talking about aquaplaning, as soon as drivers of Seb's experience are calling for red flags, I think, you know, they're not gonna, these are racing drivers, they're built different. They're built for no fear, but they still will of course have boundaries. They're not just gonna throw their lives away. They're not gonna chuck themselves into barriers for no good reason. You know what I mean? I just think, yeah, there could have been more initiative there, but unfortunately for Lando, you know, that was an opportunity. That was for sure an opportunity. And it would have got him a race win technically as well if he had put it on pole. Thank you again, Barat, for the 100 rupees. Does George get the podium if any other circumstance? Also, could they have red flagged the quali before Norris's crash and then 5th place penalty harsh? Yeah, I mean, again, I definitely think they could have red flagged the quali before, for sure. I think if the race had been a wet race on wet tyres, but, you know, not so much spray that it can't go ahead. So imagine, like, as wet a race can get while still being deemed by the drivers to have enough visibility and all that. I think George has got a good chance of staying up there. Maybe not holding on to P2, but staying up in the top 5. I mean, I guess we know, like, race pace to Williams doesn't seem to be as strong as what they can extract in qualifying. You know, did they do a worldie by just optimizing the car completely for qualifying, and there was no race, so they ended up not falling back, which they might have done. I don't know. It's hard to say. Toto pretty much confirmed George has the 2022 season. He kind of did. He kind of didn't. Kind of on the cusp. Kind of on the cusp. Hello, Luca. Good to see you, mate. Thank you, Camille, as well, for the $4.99. I watched the side-by-side with George and Max quali. George was ahead before the bus stop. She came, but his lock-up cost George. Really did it. Damn. Oh, man. Well, yeah, because George was a good 3.5 tenths behind Max in the end, wasn't he? I know he did. His bus stop wasn't the cleanest. Was it a full 3 tenths, though? That's mad. That is mad. Yeah, so, I mean, again, yeah. Ricardo P4, what I was saying, is good though. It's a good step forward. He was the last person to set his time, which didn't mean everything, because obviously George set his time before Lewis and still beat him. So, but it's more promising. Obviously, again, if Lando doesn't crash, then Lando's probably P1 or 2, and then and then Daniel's P5. So there's still a gap there for sure. But the thing is as well, like, in these kind of conditions, and that's why Sergio's qualifying in P7 and Max is putting it P1. That's why I think Ocon out-qualified Alonso. You know, I think it's one of them where if you're not comfortable in the car, and that's credit to Seb as well. Seb P5 is in a new car. To be fair, Stroll was unlucky. I don't think Stroll deserves, like, L of the day, because he was very unlucky, because he helped Seb. He helped give Seb a tow. Gave him a great tow, helped Seb get comfortably through to Q3, and then Stroll tried to get around to set his lap and just missed the window. I don't know where Stroll would have finished. I don't think he necessarily would have finished ahead of Vettel, but he might have had a good chance to get through to Q3, so it was a shame. It was a shame for Lance, because he has had some rotten luck. I don't think he's amazing, but also he has had some run luck. Thank you, Forza UBS, as well for the 5 Canadian. He's getting his first podium without having a race, the most George thing to happen to George. I mean, that is pretty George. That is pretty Russell levels of just weird, strange. It must obviously feel a bit hollow, but at the same time, you know, I think there's plenty to come with George. I think he's going to have a very long, successful career. Stroll wasn't on Vettel's pace anyway. No, I don't disagree, Val. I'm just saying I think Stroll wouldn't have had, you know, he ended up P15 and then had a 5-place penalty from last week. Did he get a 10-second penalty as well? Am I making that up? I don't know. I'm not sure. But anyway, Gasly P6. Pierre Gasly just put in another top 6 quali performance. And Yuki out in Q1 again. Look, is it that Gasly is so good and Yuki's all right? Or is it that Gasly's good and Yuki's terrible? I don't know. I honestly don't. I think Gasly is operating at a very, very, very high level. I think Gasly, again, for me, he was driver of the year last year. Him and Sergio were up for it, and I think Gasly, for me, just took it, all things considered. I think Gasly's been phenomenal this year. Wasn't Tsunoda out in Q1? I'm sure Tsunoda was out in Q1, wasn't he? Wasn't he like 17? I'm sure he was. I thought he was. But anyway, whatever. Regardless, he was miles behind Gasly again. And again, look, this doesn't always happen. When a rookie comes in with an experienced teammate, you know, they shouldn't be getting slapped 12-0 if they want to assert themselves in the sport long term, you know? You've got a lot of drivers this year who are in new cars and new teams. It's been poor. Ocon did a good job, out-qualified Fernando. They're 6-all in qualifying now. I'm not including sprint qualifying. I'm including the Friday session, which is an actual qualifying session, because sprint qualifying isn't qualifying. It's just not. Call it something else. It's 6-all between them. Been very tight all year. Obviously, Ocon was on top at the start. Then Fernando was dominating him. Now it's kind of like shifting. Obviously, Ocon finished ahead of Fernando here. I know it's just in qualifying. Ocon finished ahead last weekend as well. This was the end of Fernando's 6-point scoring finishes in a row, which again was a shame, because you would expect, looking at that, like Fernando's going to gain positions there 100%. So Fernando will be right to feel a bit robbed. But yeah, is what it is, isn't it? Bottas P8 in qualifying with Hamilton P3. It's just, look, again, I think when you look at Max and Sergio, right, the gap between Max and Sergio in quali on Saturday was about the same as the gap between Lewis and Valtteri, right? But with Sergio Perez, this is his first year in the car. This is his 12th race in that car. With Bottas, this is his 5th season. 2017, 18, 19, 20, 21. And in years past, yeah, it was kind of 65-35 Hamilton to Bottas in qualifying. You know, Bottas would beat Hamilton a good amount of times in the course of the year. And just this year, it just doesn't seem close. It doesn't seem close. What has Bottas posted on his IG story? I just want to make sure there's no like break. I know like Callum Ilott posted about I don't know, something. What's Bottas posting? What are you posting, Valtteri? New card day. Well, he's got a Mercedes with a. That's actually really nice. Decent. I know Callum Ilott posted something about that. I've got some news coming. Talk about Ilott. What do you mean? Right. So anyone who doesn't know, Callum Ilott posted. Okay. Because we know it's still nothing's been confirmed about drivers next year. Callum Ilott posted, after a fairly disappointing GP, don't fear, I have some news coming soon. Monocle face emoji. I mean, he knows what he's doing, Callum. He knows exactly what he's doing. I've already talked about Seb. I said Seb did a phenomenal job. He, you know, got through his in new machinery and he's already quicker than, he's definitely on top of Stroll at the minute. I mean, I know it's kind of with certain driver pairings, it's kind of coming and going, but the fact that Vettel's already quicker than Stroll, you know, he's a 4-time world champion. You expect a standard, and Stroll isn't, you know, he's good, but he's not top tier. But yeah, Seb's got to be happy with his finishing place, but in terms of all the other stuff, that's a different kettle of fish. Giovinazzi out-qualified Kimi again. Again, it's difficult. It's difficult to rate Giovinazzi because I do think Kimi's just clocked out. I think he's checked out. I don't think he's... If Alfa Romeo want to be serious and go into 2022, moving forward and developing and pushing forward, they can't have Kimi in that seat. I'm sorry. Valtteri Story has pen and paper. Really? He didn't when I checked it. Am I just being... Are you having a bubble? Right, I'm on his Instagram now. Yeah, it's not there. That's his most recent story. It's him in a car. There you go, you can see that there. Oh, the one before that. Sorry, I'm stupid. Okay, all right, fair enough. Hang on. Are you gonna focus? Oh, get my head out of the way so you focus on the screen. Camera, will you please just focus on the screen? Look, if I hide, no. Please just focus on this. Stop focusing on me. I'm trying to get out of the way. Oh my god, it's worked. There we go. That's Valtteri's story. Right? See the pen and paper? Yep. Read into that what you like. Now focus on me. There we go. Well done, camera. Canon autofocus is actually pretty good, to be fair. Thank you again, Forza UBS, for the 10 Canadian. I just saw Red Bull were trying to take Mazepin's fastest lap from him. There is too... What? There is too much after the race drama now. I wonder what it is like this 30 years ago. But there was no media outlets. Oh, look. Shithousery's always gone on in Formula 1, all right? We just haven't seen a lot of it in the past. Yeah. Is what it is. But yeah, I don't know. These things will always happen. There's always going to be Red Bull and you know what? Like, I don't begrudge Red Bull if they can. But then who would get fastest lap if it wasn't Mazepin? And also, like, why do they really care? Unless there's something in it for them, I don't see why they'd care. I like cheese as well, Elijah. I do. No, but Mazepin doesn't get 0.5 points because he wasn't in the top 10. So he doesn't get anything for it. Yeah, obviously, Lando we've already talked about. Would have been on pole, I think. At least P2. If it wasn't for his crash, which was just unfortunate, wasn't it? He took responsibility for it, fair enough. Like, and I think, you know, again, George went through that section fine. Like, but it's hard to be too harsh on Lando for having that crash given the conditions. Changing all the time, you know. Again, Tsunoda, just another qualifying session to forget. Schumacher out qualified Raikkonen, so that's GG for him. Another scalp on Mazepin. Mazepin got fastest lap, but obviously that's just a load of nonsense. That doesn't actually mean anything. Raikkonen, I've already said, shocker. Perez, shocker. You know, I still think Sergio, don't get me wrong, I think Sergio's the right person for that seat. I've said this before, when they renewed his contract, he's definitely the right driver to be alongside Max Verstappen right now, I think, out of their options that are realistically available. And I think next year with the new cars, it's a clean slate for everyone. I think Sergio's going to be in a much better place relative to Max. But right now it's not great. Piastri is in the Alpine Academy. And then, yeah, Lance Stroll sitting down in P20. Why is Checo above Stroll? To be honest, I think Stroll got a penalty at the end, didn't he? He got like a 10-second time penalty. I don't know, something like that. But yeah, we'll go back to this screen so that I'm not reversed anymore. Actually, I need to get a screen share up in a bit because I put a poll out on Twitter earlier. So obviously now we've got to have a little talk about these points that got divvied out, you know. Hang on. Let me find my little tweet that I put out, right? Don't follow me on Twitter, then now's your chance, right? Now's when you need to do that. Okay. So, screen share. And then Twitter. Boom. Look at that. Look at that. So, the FIA did seem pretty certain they wanted to give points out, didn't they? Hence why we ran... Have they officially said why we ran the 2 laps? Because I'm sure Stefano Domenicali has said it was not for commercial reasons, which is clearly a load of nonsense because that is literally written in the rules that, you know, you have to do 2 laps for it to count as a race, but half points. And also what baffles me is like sprint quali, which was an actual race run over 30 minutes. You gave 3 points to first, 2 for second and 1 for third. Yet when the race didn't happen, you're given half points. And that's why I put this option in here. I mean, it's the least respected option, granted. But I guess, you know what, the problem I'm having, right, is I do think that to give 0 points would be a shame for all the effort that went into FP1, FP2, FP3 and qualifying. It would be a shame for none of that to be rewarded. Now, obviously, I understand giving points when there hasn't been a race also is like, what's going on, right? I don't know. I think, obviously, there's nothing written in the rules, or there wasn't before now, that if the race doesn't go ahead, like, at all, well, I don't know. I mean, if the race doesn't go ahead, then no one gets any points. 2 laps is not enough to justify half points, though. 2 laps is not enough. 2 laps is not enough to justify half points. That's one statement I can definitely... be happy about, right? And I'm sure George would disagree, but like there was no race, so I don't think I think it's fair to give some kind of something, but I don't think half points is the thing. Manas, what do you mean? Tommo is sore because Lewis didn't win. Are you sure? Do you actually watch my stuff? Like, come on. I'm literally wearing orange. Look, I don't think you can reward half points for 2 laps behind a safety car. I just don't. I think that's silly. But whatever. I don't know. I honestly think no points. If I was making the choice between half points and no points, I'd have given no points. Personally. That's the way I see it. But because it wasn't a race. But also, and the most important thing, and something I haven't talked about yet, but obviously deserves talking about, is, you know, the justification for getting them 2 laps in. Does that mean that the fans, like, I'm sure fans will get a refund of some kind, because if they don't, then the amount of collective stick the FIA and F1 will get, rightly so, from the fan base. Because yes, it's not the FIA's fault it rained, but also it's not the fans' fault. It's like if you go, I don't know, to the cinema and there's loads of rain and some of it trickles in and the screen breaks, right? That's not the cinema's fault that it rained, all right? But you still expect a refund. Like regardless, like the fans who went there and stuck around for the whole time weren't treated to what they were promised. So doesn't Monaco just give out points for qualifying? It's a good point, Ian. It's a good point. So we can talk about, oh, this driver got robbed, this driver deserved this, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, there was no race. So I don't think any points were merited. I think the fans all deserve, I mean, at least the bare minimum. Because look, F1's like one of the most expensive sports in the world, right? There's plenty of money going about in this sport, right? Now, I think this is a cost that should be swallowed up by the organisation Formula One. I think the track itself, Spa, look, it's one of them as well where it's 2021, right? Human beings, we're very capable creatures. Is there a way that we could do more to help prevent this kind of thing? Like, is there more equipment that these particular tracks that are, because Spa is often affected by rain. These tracks that are particularly affected by particular weather conditions, maybe, because we have to try and learn from these instances, right? I know it's an absolute mess, right? No one enjoyed yesterday. No one was happy about it, right? But whenever something bad happens, whether it was Grosjean's crash at Bahrain, whether it's Jules Bianchi when he lost his life in Suzuka, and whether it's yesterday, or in between, or whatever, whenever, there's these instances at Rouge Radion, like, we need to be making sure that when these things happen, we're trying to like be, okay, how can that be realistically prevented in the future, right? Because some things you're not going to be able to prevent, and you're not going to be able to stop rain. I mean, to be fair, there is technology, isn't there? Because I know after like space launches where all the steam comes out, it creates clouds. And I'm sure I remember seeing something on like Vsauce or Veritasium where it's like you could put like particles in the sky and it will get rid of clouds. But that's not particularly like, I can't imagine that's particularly good for wildlife and the atmosphere. But surely there must be some kind of technological things that can be, because the amount of like revenue that will be lost relative to if the race had gone through and gone through like properly is huge. And I'm not saying, I know F1 isn't Jeff Bezos, but they can still like, I don't know, cloud seeding. There you go. I'm not actually seriously suggesting that, by the way. I'm just saying that technology does exist. But when you look at how, and I know NASCAR is banks tracks, right? Very smooth, but their equipment, I saw a picture earlier, and their equipment that gets rid of water is like big wide thing, and it's like, it displaces loads. And there was like one little van with a little thing at Spa. Like, come on. There must be more that can be done to try and stop like this. Like, look, sometimes it's one of them where you just got to put your hands up and be like, look, they couldn't race, and there's not much you can do about it, but maybe there's more that we could have done about it. Maybe there's not. We've got to try. Thank you, Aaron, as well, for the €1. I couldn't remember what a euro was for a second then. Very clever. But yeah, again, I would recommend, if you don't know who Sim Dane is, SIM space DANE. He does like Daddy's Cash and great F1 songs, and he went to Spa this weekend and he put some great, like, detailed, he said, talked about the lack of communication towards fans when they were there. He was sat at Eau Rouge Radion, like, just like in that stand where like Lando crashed and where that big W Series crash happened. He was sat up there, and he talked about how kind of, oh, thank you, Hannah. Pizza is on the way. Sick. When pizza gets here, I'm going to have to wrap up the stream, just so you know. But Hannah's shouted out in the chat. Big up, Hannah. Yeah, and just how that again, it's not the fact that the rain happened, it's how it was dealt with. And I think there's always more, because I think if everything was done and everything was communicated efficiently and effectively and the race is rained off, it's obviously going to be disappointing. But I mean, again, all of the drivers said it was unsafe to drive. Like, they know better than any of us do, okay? I know there's a lot of people online who are like, oh yeah, they could have raced. Who are you going to trust? The actual drivers driving, who have years and years and years of experience of racing in the rain and know what they're doing to put their lives on the line, or some random on Twitter, just saying. But yeah. And also, hang on, I've seen a few of these in the comments as well. I don't understand. Where is this correlation between being annoyed about the race, like being points allocated and all that? Where is the correlation between that and like Lewis Hamilton being like whinging about the race? Like, I don't get it. Like, how can you look at what Lewis has said and about like, oh, it's a farce for the fans? Like, he was getting booed, yet he's still like backing the fans, obviously, because people are like, oh yeah, you're just moaning because Lewis lost out to Max. I try not to swear on this channel, but I almost did. Like, where's that correlation coming from? Like, how are you reaching so far in your dislike of Lewis to try like attack him on that, when all he's doing is like saying what like everyone thinks, which is what the fans should get refunded because they were out there for like 9 hours and the FIA delayed their decision till like gone 6 o'clock. Like, I don't get how people just reach so much, and it just annoys me. Like the booing, I don't really care. Like, I'm a football fan. Like, booing is just part of the sport as far as I'm concerned. Like, I know you're gonna get people who like boo for the wrong reason, right? But at the same, like, booing as a thing, I don't really care. I mean, it's part of sport as far as I'm concerned. But at the same time, like, geez, I just think the stretching that goes on, my goodness, honestly, is insane. But yeah, what can we do? We're never all going to see in the same way, are we? Some people are never going to be able to park their biases. Is what it is. But yeah, so I guess and thank you, Lord Targaryen, for the $4.99. Do you think it's right that Kimi has an F1 seat as a hobby, whilst everyone? I mean, the hobby thing, I know it's a funny meme. I don't really personally like reach too much into that, because like his personal reasons for wanting to race in F1, I don't think matter. Like, maybe if Schumacher, when he was winning all the time and he was asked the question, maybe he would have said it was a hobby to him. Maybe just because it's a hobby to you doesn't mean you're not applied and you really want it. But it's more the races, his performances just have been very sus this year. As much as he's made up a lot of positions in qualifying. Again, tinfoil hat. Maybe he's just qualifying bad. He's not asked with qualifying because it's more fun to overtake in the race. But again, if Alfa Romeo want to be taken seriously moving forward, I just don't think they can have that. They can have that in the team. You know, you need two drivers who are really, really motivated. And I think if Bottas and Ilott does happen at Alfa Romeo, then I think, you know, Bottas is going to want to prove a point. Ilott's, you know, F2 not champion, but to be honest, I think Ilott did more, proved more, showed more in F2 against Schumacher. You know, Ilott was very unlucky. Mick was just super consistent, but Ilott got some mad DNFs as well. Is Minton with me? Yes, Han. He is asleep there. If you stick around to the end of the stream, I will show you all him. Thank you, Jack Sweeten, for joining Friends of Tommo. And thank you, Nick, again, mate. Big up. On the semi-positive note, first time in F1 history, each finisher in the top 6 were made of different constructors. Knowledge. Big up, Nick. Mr. F1 Reddit. I love a good stat. I do love a good stat. Have I missed any? Thank you, Abby, as well, for the $2. Seb for race director. Look, Seb held himself, carried himself impeccably, as far as I'm concerned, on Saturday. He called for a red when it needed to happen. It didn't happen. He was not happy, and rightly so. You know, I know. It annoys me that there's a lot of people out there who think like I hate Seb, because I don't. Like, I really don't. I really like Seb. I don't. I can criticize his performances. I can look at his results and come to different conclusions, but that don't mean I hate the guy. I think he's phenomenal. I honestly do. And I think, you know, it's people like him. In the past, we had, again, Jackie Stewart, Nicky Lauda, Ayrton Senna, who were very vocal and stood up for, you know, in terms of the safety of the sport and all this stuff. And I think Seb's the next driver who's really taken that. He can tell he really cares. And I think we'll be seeing Seb in F1 for a long time going, even when he's retired as a driver. I think him as a, even just race director, maybe just more of a, you know, he's already part of the drivers' kind of union, alongside George. Yeah, I think, you know, Seb is an asset to this sport for sure. But that doesn't mean he's a perfect racing driver. You know, you can be critical of someone. Again, I am a West Ham fan. I love West Ham. I will till my dying breath. But that doesn't mean when they're bad, I won't say they're bad. There you go. Sorry, I'm just making sure I'm not missing any donos. You lot are being very, very generous today. Thank you, Xavier. I'm going to say Xavier for the $4.99. So I'm a NASCAR fan. I'm still learning about F1. Why doesn't F1 postpone races like NASCAR does? So my understanding, the reason it wasn't postponed, however you say it. Obviously, marshals aren't paid. They're volunteers. A lot of them work on Mondays. I don't think there would have been the capacity amongst that to run the race on Monday. Look, again, the amount of money in F1, the fact that stewards aren't paid is in itself a bit of a, especially Formula One stewards, because of how much money's in F1. Like, there's a lot of money in motorsport, but obviously F1 is the top of that tree. It's one of them that I suppose a situation like this, hopefully, if something like this happens again in the future, which, yeah, these are very rare. Hence why there was so much like the FIA weren't sure really what to do, how to manage it. Like the fact, oh, there's the pizza. I'm gonna have to end this soon. The fact that that's the case means that, you know, they didn't really know what they were doing. Minton's barking. But hopefully, if something like this does happen again, they will put things in place which, no, marshals, not Michael Massey. Marshals don't get paid. I don't know if some do, but I know most are volunteers. But yeah. Thank you, Fogwa, for the $4.99. I've not seen you on a big up Fogwa. Yesterday was a fast. Either you race for real or you do not race at all. Absolute joke. Those safety car laps. Again, yeah, it was pointless. I agree. I'm as much as I think the best decision would have just been to give no points for me. But there you go. Today it's raining too. Yeah, that's the thing. Do you just keep delaying it until it stops raining? Like, also Zandvoort's next weekend, so the logistics of that would, I think, just have been too much. And yeah, Dennis Hauger is smashing F3. Great little prospect. Right, the pizza is here. I'm gonna have my dinner, and I've somehow, how have I managed to talk for almost an hour about there being no race? Minton, what was that noise? All right, I'm gonna grab Minton. Right, to say goodbye. Come on, mate. Come say goodbye to everyone. Good boy. There we go. Beautiful. Beautiful sausage dog. You can hear, oh, are you gonna bark? Look at him. He's looking very intense. Look at the camera. There we go. I kind of did. All right. Why is spray suddenly a problem? Well, it's not a problem when there's a little bit of spray, but when there's so much spray that you can't see 50 meters ahead of you, then that is a problem. All right, cheers everyone. Thank you everyone for watching. Have a good day, be good, be nice. And thank you Got No Waffles for the $4.99. Did you see the interview between Broxton and Joe? No, I didn't. I'll have to look for that. Oh, and thank you Rosalie for the $5. Honestly, with all the hate that Russell is getting right now, do you think he deserves the trophy? If you're hating George Russell for being happy about getting a trophy, then I'm sorry, like, you're just a troll. And yeah, thank you everyone for watching. Did I miss anyone? No, I didn't. I don't think I did. Cheers. See you later. Zandvoort, it's race week. Zandvoort. Big up Zandvoort. I'm buzzing for Zandvoort. Zandvoort's going to be sick. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Goodbye. Adios. Ciao. Goodbye. Ciao. Farewell. Goodbye. Au revoir.